May 1975, a team of English private detectives descends on the island of Mallorca. Their assignment, to kidnap the 4-year-old daughter of a Spanish courier on behalf of their client, his estranged English wife, Marion. For the detectives, who have made a speciality of these tug-of-love baby snatches, it is just another case. For the family, it is another step in a personal tragedy.
We've talked this over as a family. Marion knows the risks she's taking. She also knows that if she doesn't take these risks, we shall never get this child back to its rightful owner, its rightful mother. So, yes, I'm very apprehensive. But if Marion wants it this way, then I'll back her.
You don't think Marion could be happy without the child?
No, definitely not. I've seen Marion this last 8 months, and I know what it's done to Marion, not having her child with her.
The child, Helen, was in the custody of her Spanish father, Jaime Serapasta, at his home in Palma, Mallorca. For days, the detectives kept watch. Then her mother was brought over from England to make the snatch, picking her daughter up from the nursery school where she had been left by her father, and making a carefully planned escape back to England. The job was a success. The fee for the detectives, £1,500 plus expenses. But the family were a long way from their happy ending. Last October, Helen's father arrived at Marion's home in Letchworth, shot and wounded his father-in-law with a .22 pistol, and blew up part of the house with gelignite. At St Albans Crown Court, he was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment.
No, in a case like this, we don't really have any pangs of conscience. I think, as the facts have shown, it's far better for this child to be with her mother. Although I will say that we're certainly very glad we didn't have occasion to meet this fellow whilst we were snatching the child in Mallorca. But with the armaments he had available, God only knows where we would have been. People who employ agencies such as ours are really only interested in success, not in the morals or the ethics of a situation.
The detectives were led by 36-year-old Ian Withers of Shoreham in Sussex. He and his brother Stuart are co-directors of a private eye empire with offices in 7 major conurbations, employing 14 full-time agents and an army of part-timers.
I was a bit fed up with the routine job, and as many people do, I glanced down the personnel column of the local newspaper, and there I saw an advertisement for a trainee investigator. And I thought, that's it, that is just my scene. And rather imagined, I suppose, that it was rather like the television detectives, and in those days, 77 Sunset Strip and all that. And in fact, it was very, very different. The bulk of the work that we deal with is in fact just routine, such as serving writs and repossessing hire purchase default motor cars. In this particular case, it's a Rolls-Royce.
I think it's just up here on the left, Stuart. Just slow down as we go past. You can probably see if it's in the driveway. That's the house there. Yep, there she is. She's in the garage. OK, what I'll do, I'll hop over the fence there and creep up behind. If you come round, cover me when I reverse out. If there's any trouble, you can step in.
The tension that you face when you make an approach on a property such as this is extreme, and on some occasions you actually shake like a leaf. Of course, if the fellow comes out, or some friends come out, then that's where you start to earn your money in trying to talk your way out of the problem. Repossessing the motor car is not illegal, but that doesn't necessarily make it lawful. If the fellow came out and caught us, he may have grounds to take us to court for trespass.
The key won't fit.
It won't fit.
Have you got the pick locks?
I'm just going to try it in now. Don't shout, don't shout.
I think there's a coat hanger in the other car. See if there's anything in the garage that you can use.
It's okay, I've got the lock now, I've got the door lock.
You've got it open now, have you?
Yeah, I'm inside the car now.
Ignition on.
The Withers brothers operate on the fringe of the law in a vast area that is only loosely covered by legislation and is avoided like the plague by most police forces. Divorce, debt collection, credit inquiries, electronic surveillance, squatting, a whole volume of domestic cases. Lucrative pickings for private detectives who are totally free from any licensing system. In this country, anybody can be a private eye. Ian Withers spent 2 years as a police constable before moving into the more profitable private sector. And his own knowledge of the law gives him a decisive edge over his targets, who are only vaguely aware of their own rights. In this case, he and his brother plan the common law arrest of a Bristol man for fraud. At the request of their client, his estranged wife, who has been unable to persuade the police to interfere in what they see as a domestic case.
319 Bristol, over. Roger, thank you. I wonder if you could contact the police that cover Whitchurch, I think it's the Knoll police station, and advise them that we're on an observation in the drive at Whitchurch, and in the event anyone calls up reporting us as being suspicious, perhaps they would make a note that that's who we are. Over.
We are only exercising the powers that every citizen has to make a common law arrest. In so doing, we hope that the police will bring the prosecution.
Do you know what the list adds up to?
No, we don't know anything about it.
Well, the accountants have added up so far without taking this year's figures into consideration, just short of £10,000. The reason I parked up here so as not to embarrass you.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
Do you want me to sit here,
yeah, if you'd like to sit there, then. Well, I have reason to believe that offences have taken place, and therefore I'm going to caution you. I tell you, you're not obliged to say anything unless you wish to do so. Anything you do so may be taken down and may be used in evidence against you. I'm arresting you and taking you to Knoll police station. The facts will be placed before the CID. Again, I have to tell you, you don't have to say anything unless you wish to do so. Anything that you do say will be taken down and used in evidence against you. You understand?
Yeah. Me and the wife.
I see. But you see, looking at the system as I understand it, and perhaps you can correct me, what you've actually done is to get your father-in-law to sign blank cheques.
Yeah.
You've then written them out to various things on the cheque, counterfoil, such as the post office telephones, private and so on.
Yeah.
And on the cheque itself, you've either paid it into your own account or cashed it.
Yeah.
Is this more or less what the position is?
Could I just ask, I mean, I've no idea, could you, tell me the worst, what's sort of going on over this?
Well, it depends entirely on the magistrates, I would think. It's very difficult, to give you an idea. Is this your first offence?
Yeah.
Well, I think the worst you're likely to get really is a suspended sentence and probably a fine. Very
No, that's
difficult to say.
only sort of asking the man.
Yes, well, I honestly don't know. The magistrates vary. It depends entirely on the day.
The Withers prisoner was later charged with 5 offences of fraud, and at Bristol Crown Court he was jailed for 18 months. His wife, shattered by the severe sentence, broke down and wept.
The bread and butter, day-by-day work of the average investigator is knocking on doors. And in so doing, you get very little useful information and one hell of a lot of abuse. But it really is the whole basis of the business, and any success at all is going to come from this very mundane way of dealing with your inquiries.
First one of that dog, is it?
Who?
Mr. Young.
But there's no Mr. Young living here.
Well, that's not what the young chap just said. I see.
Don't call in on me.
Well, we've got to, it's our job, love. International call for Mr. David Tomlinson. And can you ask them to ascertain his whereabouts? Is it worth our while sitting outside waiting now, or is it, is he gone? You no idea where we can get hold of Eddie, I suppose? I want to try and make some arrangements with you to move out.
I'm sorry if I'm rude to you, but if you don't go, I've been advised to fetch the police by my solicitor.
Well, yeah, that's all right. Do you know which police are after him, then?
He said that you didn't say this.
Yeah, is this his correct name here? It's difficult because I don't like sitting up here, this time of the morning.
You can sit up here at night. I've been to a probation officer about this and a lot of people. I'm not having it.
Yeah. So you understand the terms of an injunction, do you? Yeah, Steve, I know you're in there. And on that basis, I'm going to serve you through the letterbox.
You said you're very objective about jobs and that you always do your clients' wishes, but you'd have to be pretty inhuman not to have feelings about the way you're coming down on people. I mean, have you had situations where you've really felt you've been a bit of a bastard?
Well, of course, you do get cases where you think, God, why the hell am I doing this? For example, serving a writ on a guy that's in a mental hospital after a nervous breakdown, and you go and see the doctor and say, is he all right to slap a writ on? And the doctor says, well, you better be gentle with it, and you go and slap the poor guy, and he's really at the bottom, you know. And you do feel very bad as you come out of the hospital. But then again, you know, it's one of those things you have to do. Our client, as you know, is a rather well-known gentleman. He got one of these contact magazines and went off to a party in an unnamed hotel in Eastbourne. Now, the result was that he got involved in some pornographic pictures. Somebody who took the pictures has been blackmailing him. We've already identified the party, and the fellow's been making various demands upon him. Today, he has asked for a large payment in return for the negatives. Well, this is the tape that was delivered this morning with the afternoon's appointment, so if you'd like to listen to that, it will give you an idea of what we've got to do.
Hello? Hello? It's me again. Same place as last time. I want it in used £5 notes, 3 o'clock, don't be late. Bastard!
India, Sierra, over.
Sierra, go ahead, over.
The client has just arrived at rendezvous, over.
We've already established who the blackmailer is by following our client on one of the last drops,
India, Tango, over.
and then following the fellow home and identifying him. Stuart, whose call sign is Sierra, is already on observation at the house, waiting for him to appear.
India, Sierra, Sierra, over.
Sierra, go ahead, over.
Roger, client's in location, ETA on the suspect, over.
Suspect still in court books, over.
Roger. India, Tango, subject is still in the Brighton area, over.
Received and understood, over.
Thank you, all mobile standby. Sierra, does it look as if he sussed you, over?
The negative to South, stand by one. Sierra, India, over.
Sierra, go ahead, over.
Sierra, suspect returned back to home, over.
Roger, the subject has returned to his home.
Suspect has now put the vehicle in a garage at the rear of the house and locked up the garage. Has returned back into the rear of the house. Looks like it could possibly be a blowout. I've just spoken to client India and he wants to blow it out, over.
Roger, understood. Okay, all units below. Tango, can you advise the client blow?
The suspect's obviously been frightened off, possibly has an accomplice up here keeping observation. But we know that he wants the money. He's had 500 so far, and he knows there's more to come. There's little doubt that he will phone up our client again, and we can set the whole operation up once more.
But until the blackmailer again makes contact, it's back to the bread and butter jobs, the early morning knock on the door, and the unsuspecting victims.
If, for example, you want to repossess a television set, you're at more advantage if, in fact, they've just woken up. They're not likely to become violent. They're still half asleep. Wits are not about them. Likewise, if you're dealing with squatters, if you can deal with it first thing in the morning when they're all in bed, you're going to get less problem with it than you would otherwise.
That's the one on the corner there, is it, Tim?
The headquarters of the Withers nationwide agency is Brighton, where their frequent involvement in squatting cases has led to confrontations with the Squatters' Union and Brighton Rights Centre.
Any sign of that mad axeman, though?
No, I must admit, it didn't look like that.
No? All right, well, if you take the front door, I'll have a look at the back. Okay, Tim, out you come. Keep in the file.
A similar case in the London borough of Ealing. The Withers method is to move into a house while the squatters are out and take possession without a court order.
I'll secure the bolts then.
I'm going to my home.
Yes, we're going to arrange that for you. You can come and get your stuff in
I'll
here.
look at my jersey, that's all.
Yeah. Where's your jersey?
Upstairs. I have my old frock in there.
I'll send up for it for you. Which jersey is it?
Upstairs.
Okay, we get it for you. Just
Okay.
wait outside.
Okay, I'm going.
Yes, okay. Hang on. Just wait outside there. We'll go and get it for you. Right. Can you go up and get that jersey for her then?
Anything you want, I will help, all right?
Yeah.
I go myself.
We'll arrange to move all your stuff out, love, don't worry.
Squatters really is one of the lousiest aspects of our work, but we are obliged to do it because we do provide a comprehensive service, and if we didn't do the dirty jobs, then the solicitor clients wouldn't give us the cream work.
Who's this? Is she your girlfriend?
Yeah.
Is she ill or is she okay?
No, she's joking.
Yeah? Doesn't look too healthy lying there.
I want to go somewhere.
This lady happens to want something part of her possession.
Yeah, all right, she can have it, but she'll have to wait till we get instructions. We can't let anyone in at the moment.
No, I want to talk now to my husband, and you can talk my...
Well, she is now an authorised tenant. The solicitor made a mistake. It's not Singh, it's Sharma or this one. Okay, everybody else.
And wait a minute, I was paying rent here, mate, 5 years ago to a Mr. Singh. Mr. Singh has not anything to do with the property. He was a tenant at one time. He used to own it.
The solicitors who had employed Withers to recover the property had made a mistake. One of the 8 so-called squatters was there legally, in a furnished flat officially rented to her by the landlord.
Nothing I can do about it?
Nothing I can do about it.
Who are you?
I'm the solicitor's agent.
Are you getting back in?
Well, where's your brief? Where's the court order?
We don't actually ever go out mob-handed with a view to looking at a violent scene. On many occasions, we will take along so-called heavies, if you will, or we call them rather large assistants, to merely stand in the background where we have foreseen the possibility of violence, the object being rather like the Cold War. They look at us, we look at them, and no violence occurs, and we can deal with the matter in a perfectly sane and sensible way.
Despite amendments to the divorce laws, marital disputes are still 25% of the job, as evidence of adultery is still the fastest way to obtain a divorce.
Yes, good morning. Further to our telephone conversation, basically the situation is this, that in view of your limited financial resources, it will be more economical for us to put an automatic telephone recording device on your telephone. This, in effect, will record conversations that your husband makes, and therefore we will have the appointments that he arranges with the girlfriend. And this, of course, will save you a lot of time on an hourly basis.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah.
Good. Now, is there any chance he's going to come in during the daytime?
No, he's usually out from 9 till 6.
He is out from 9 to 6?
Yeah.
And you're not living at home now, although you still own or are the joint tenant of the property?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, and the property, so far as you're concerned, is your property?
Yes.
Fine. As far as you know, the locks are the same, are they?
Yes.
Fine, and you have somewhere in the house where we can hide the tape recorder?
Yes, I
Yes.
should.
This is quite easy to operate, and I'll give you some instructions how to stop the tape and rewind it and listen to it. Fine. Now, which do you think is the best time to make the installation? During the daytime when he's at work?
Yes, I should think so.
Yes, there's no chance that he's going to come back?
I wouldn't think so, no.
No.
The husband has changed the locks here, so we have got to force an entry. Breaking and entering is not in itself an offence unless it's accompanied by an intent to commit a crime. But of course, in doing this, we go through exactly the same tensions that your average housebreaker would go through, for different reasons. In our case, we don't know when the husband might turn up.
An awful lot of your work seems to be a gross intrusion into people's private lives, particularly when you use bugging devices. In what sort of situations could you justify using bugging?
Well, bugging is really a modern method of gathering information. It is no different from the general day-to-day role of the inquiry agent. 20 years ago, you would listen through the keyhole. Now you can use an electronic device.
The Withers brothers frequently use bugging equipment, which they claim does not contravene the Wireless Telegraphy Act. This includes wired microphones for listening through walls or glass, telephone taps, miniature tape recorders, and in this case, a battery-operated device which switches on a tape recorder whenever the telephone is used.
Sierra Lima, over. We have the postman. He's just entered the street. He is working from door to door, so I wouldn't be too long on the job, over.
It is, okay, keep us posted.
Shall do, he's on
The agency also has a lucrative sideline in selling bugs, mainly to Middle East clients.
Postman is now entering the front door, over.
Okay. Okay, can you bring that back there, along the top there?
We have a subject coming in the front door, subject coming in the front door.
Oh, yeah, it is. Someone's coming in the front door.
A woman in her 60s, over.
Yeah, okay.
Installation tapes, I think it's important in the private sector to have facilities for electronic surveillance apparatus, bugs and so on. Otherwise, you're going to have a one-sided situation in society where the authorities only have got the equipment to bug and the defence doesn't have the same facilities to offset that.
If you tap a telephone with a direct wired equipment, then you're not in effect breaking any law, but the subscriber for whom you're working is in fact in breach of his contract with the post office to attach equipment which is of non-approved type.
In fact, we were not prepared to film the break-in without the husband's permission, so it was the one sequence in the film which was reconstructed. Meanwhile, the blackmailer has again made contact. Another drop is arranged to hand over the money, and the blackmailer arrives on time in a green sports car.
Roger, let us know when they've changed.
It's changed over now, over.
Roger, stand by for follow-up. India Sierra, stand by for follow-up.
Affirmative. Sierra India, suspect leaving now.
Roger, go straight across in case he goes across, over.
Affirmative.
Tango here, following him out. He's turned right up towards the crossroads, over.
Roger, stand by to take a turn to the right after him if he goes right for London.
Affirmative, right behind him, over.
Stay with him, I'm with you. Sierra, are you ready to do a stop at a convenient point, over?
Roger, I'll come to a fork down here. I don't know which one he's going to do.
OK, see which one he takes and get a quiet spot, avoid other traffic and do a stopover.
On a secluded stretch of downland outside Brighton,
Tango,
5 detectives in 2 Ford Granadas and a minivan close in on the blackmailer's vehicle. They keep in constant radio contact and wait until they are sure their target has no accomplices.
Roger, if he goes straight up, it's a cul-de-sac. We'll all rendezvous there and have him at the pub. When he does stop, if Stuart stops him, get right up his back so he hasn't got any room to reverse, over.
Tango here, he's just pulled the envelope from the back of the car and is leafing through the contents at the moment, over.
Stand by for a block, Sierra. Roger.
Right behind him, out of contact now, over.
OK, don't rough him up, Let's have him. Come on, you bastard. Let's have you. OK, stand up, come on. Up you come. Come across the car, get rid of the bus on the street. Come on. Come on. Come on. OK, I'll get it. In the car. Give on, Reagan. Round the other side. OK. Right, sit up, we know who you are. Now listen, we're not the fuzz, we're private. OK, we're private. Now listen, you've got a choice, my old son. Down the cooler, and I guarantee you 7 bloody years in, blackmail is a very nasty crime. Very nasty. OK? I want some cooperation. Right, cooperation. Now listen, you have committed a very serious offence. Right, now there's 2 things we can do for you. Number 1, we want to go down your pad. We want all your films, everything you've got. We want the money back. I don't want to have another squeak out of you. 1 word, boy, and you're straight in. Do you get the point?
Yeah.
Another telephone call and you're in. Right, you thought we were the fuzz, didn't you?
Yes.
No, well, we're not, OK? Right, now listen, I'm going to send you down with my boys here. I want to go over your drum. I want a statement in writing. A statement signed by you. That statement's going to go to a solicitor. He's going to hold it. And if at any time you ever make another attempt to telephone our client, you can rest assured you'll be straight down to the police next time. OK, listen, you guys, take him back down to his drum.
Yeah.
Do it over. Do the lot over. And I'll come round and see him later on tonight. Don't let him out your sight.
No, OK.
All right?
What about his car there?
Right, one of the lads can take his motor back. Lee, you take his motor back down to his drum, will you? Bastard. Right.
Later, at the blackmailer's bedsit, the detectives discovered over 200 indecent prints, which they burned in front of their client. Since then, the blackmailer has disappeared from the area.
Well, I think you've got to look at life on a very much more general basis. People are, in life, going to face problems. In many cases, they can call the police. In other cases, they can go to a solicitor. But there is one sector of problems which cannot be dealt with by any of the known authorities. And to who do they go? Would you not agree that it's far better for them to go to an agency that is well advertised, that is known, where they have some calls to go back if they're not satisfied with the result of the job?
Now the Withers brothers have moved into the international sphere, into areas of political tension and bigger fees. In Pakistan, where recent allegations of electoral rigging by the Bhutto regime have led to serious rioting, Ian Withers has been employed by a politician and former member of the Bhutto cabinet to bug telephones in the capital, Karachi. Now the brothers have opened a new office in Belfast.